Okay, so
Welcome
we're
to
going to
Deep
look at
Ministries.
noetic results. We look at mental results, psychic results. Now we're going to look at noetic. I think noetic means thinking. So we're going to go into noetic results. Noetic results, that is results in the noetic atmosphere of the human, come from the mental results, which follow the psychic results of pleasure or pain from the experience of physical events. So all these results are talking about the experience, the exteriorization of physical events in your life, the way you react to these events in your psychic, your mental, and your noetic. You know, this is the what this is talking about the way you react to things that happens in your life. And according to this writer, the things that happen in our life is caused by our thoughts. Um, can be for a long time or can be recent because the in order for thoughts to be exteriorized, it has to have a lot of stuff got to be lightened up, right place and the right time as to for a thought for something for an event to happen in your life. The noetic results are extracts of mental results, which contain the essence of the psychic results and are the record of what the door of the triune self has done with itself towards being conscious of what the knower already knows. Okay, so this is talking about the triune self. So he says, saying the essence, psychic results, and the record of what the triune self has done with itself towards being conscious of what the knower already knows. So the knower, it's three, I think it's the breather, the door, and the knower. That's our three selves. The door is a physical self. I think the breather is a spirit, and the knower is that divine self. So according to this writer. So basically what he's saying is let me start with the middle. The noetic results are extracts of mental results which contain the essence of the psychic results and are the record of what the door of the triune self, the door of the triune self, that means the physical self, has done with itself towards being conscious of what the knower already knows. So the knower is the all divine self. So it's our step. Oh, so all this is leading us. So when I'm getting all this is leading us to being conscious of who we are, conscious of our divine self, conscious that we're not only a body, but this body, spirit, and another third divine. They call it body, soul, and spirit. So the knower is where we're trying to, the knower is trying to wake us up of our true self. Oh, so when these thoughts happen and we learn from them, we're going higher. So we have to get to that place where these thoughts doesn't affect us in this physical realm anymore. That's where the Noah wants us to get. Oh, okay. What the door has become, what the door has become conscious of as being morally right or wrong is kept as a record in the noetic atmosphere and is to the door conscience. Mhm. So the noetic atmosphere is the knower atmosphere, that all divine aspect of us. Oh, so what the door has become, that's the body, that's us, conscious of, or has become conscious of as being morally right or wrong, is kept as a record in the noetic atmosphere and is soul and is to the door conscience. Conscience speak only from or through rightness of the thinker of the triune self. I never heard this before. Or conscience speaks only from or through rightness of the thinker of the triune self. So a lot of times we said, oh, my conscience. Oh my God, this is so my conscience. Oh, my conscience. It's our divine aspect of us speaking to us and let us know that it's not right or that is right. Oh, so that's what conscience speak only or through rightness of the thinker of the triune self. So the thinker, the noetic, the all divine self aspect of us. Mm. Noetic results are the essence of what people learn, but as they learn so very little, the noetic results from exteriorization are meager. Oh, wow. The noetic results are meager because we don't learn enough. My gosh. So the knowing self, the noetic self, the knowing self, everything is an experience in this world. We have to remember, in spite of what we're going through, before he talks about it, I'm gonna just touch back on right now. It it says when we conscious what the doer has become conscious of being morally right or wrong is kept as a record in the noetic atmosphere and is so the doer conscience. And in the noetic atmosphere is the door conscience. That's where our conscience is. Oh my God, in that all knowing, the aspect that we can't see, that aspect where when we think our thoughts are materialized in the noetic atmosphere and it's to the door conscience. And it's so the door conscience. The conscience speak only from or through rightness of the thinker of the triune self. Conscience speak only from or through the rightness of the thinker of the triune self. My God, I never would have thought this. That's our conscience is in all the noetic selves. That's why I said, oh, my conscience is killing me. There's that aspect of us is knowing what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong. And we have to remember these records when we be aware of or being what we the door has become conscious as being morally right or wrong is kept as a record in the noetic atmosphere and is to the door conscience. And that's where our conscience is. So when we do right or wrong, when we recognize what we're doing right and wrong, it's kept as a record in the noetic atmosphere, the all-knowing. The rightness are the thing of the triune self. Oh my God, this is great. And this says noetic results are the essence of what people learn. So we haven't learned anything. So the exteriorization of that divine aspect of us in this physical realm is so meager because we haven't learned. Things happen to us we haven't learned. So when we start learning and more, knowing what's right, knowing what's wrong, that the divine aspect of us, that know all knowing aspect of us will start exteriorizing in this physical realm. The more we learn, the more that we start grow, we get stronger. All those thoughts doesn't have. That's all the noetic self exteriorized in the physical realm. because we're growing, we're stronger, we're getting braver, we're realizing who we are. Oh, so let me continue. A thought is exteriorized until there is a balancing of it by means of its physical, psychic, mental, and noetic results. So that we talked about balancing a thought. So a thought is exteriorized until there is a balancing of it means of its physical, psychic, mental, and noetic results. So when so the physical results, when a thought does physically a thought is balanced, when we change the intention of the thought, when psychically a thought is balanced, the way we react to it, the way we react to the thought, that helps balance the thought. Meaning, did we learn from it? What did we learn from this event that had come in my life? How can I do better? How can I think better? Everything that happens to us, it's for a reason. What have I learned from it? And noetic results is the all-knowing self. It's the all-knowing self. So our three all-knowing self know that we learned something from this. We learned something from this. So that it can be conscious of the fact that we're growing. So the three ways a thought is balanced is the three aspects of us: our physical self, our psychic self, and our noetic self. This is a three-way of balancing a thought. And when we balance in the thought, when we balance a thought, it it stops the thought right there. And because a thought will continue until it is balanced. And we need these three things to occur for a thought to be balanced. The physical results are the exteriorization, which were potentially in the thought from the beginning. Exteriorizations continue until the potential balance contained in the thought is made an actual one. The balancing factor in the thought by which the potential balance is forced on and exteriorized is conscience, which speaks as the result of knowledge and of departure from what is known to be right. Yep. So it's telling you what makes a thought balanced. The physical results are the exteriorization which were potentially in the thought and from the beginning. So when the thought was made, it says, "Oh, I'm gonna be in an accident." So when that thought was made, that exteriorization, that's the physical aspect of it. So it came down and you were in an accident. So the exteriorization continue until the potential balance contained in the thought is made an actual one. So the thought has to balance. The balancing factor in the thought by which the potential balance is forced on and exteriorized is conscience. So your conscience, what did you learn from this? What did you learn from you being an accident? There's always a lesson in these exteriorization, which speaks as the result of knowledge and of departure from what is known to be right. The actual balance of a thought is made when at least no, the actual balance of a thought is made when at last the noetic, the mental, the psychic, and physical results are in agreement. That is when the knower, the thinker, and the doer are satisfied through the particular event, which is an exteriorization of the thought. So all these have to be satisfied when the exteriorization happens. And how we do that? By the way we react to the thought, by what we learn from the thought. That's what caused the thought to be balanced. Exteriorization may mean much or little in the world, but it means much to the door. The exteriorization is the only thing the world can see, but the triune self desires or thinks or knows what that event is to it. And, and in the previous chapter, it says, as soon as the event happened, the person who sends the thought know that they was thinking about it. So you will know if you were the cause of that problem. You were the cause of what you're going through. But the triumph self desires or think or knows what that event is to it. The important thing for the door to do after it has created a thought is to desire to balance it in the three parts of the triune self with any physical event, which is an exterioration of the thought. This is very important. So the important thing for the door to do after it has created a thought is to desire to balance it in the three parts of the triune self with any physical event, which is an exteriorization of the thought. So the thought has to balance in the three physical part of the triune self: the conscience, the psychic, and the physical. So when you create a thought, you must intend to balance it. You're going to learn from it. The way you're going to react to it, and you're not going to know not to say these thoughts anymore. The balancing proceeds from the door of the triune self, that is the body. There takes place an accomplishment by and from all the experiences concerned with all the events that were potentially in and developed actually out of that thought. So when that thought, our physical, we stop that thought. When that thought comes, we're going to not entertain that thought. Physically, that's what we do, so that it will not get strength over your thought. It's not easy. So physically, when that thought comes, no, we're not going to entertain it. And how we learn from that. And we learn from that. Or we react to it. That's our three selves: our physical self, and our psychic self, and our noetic self, our all-knowing, our conscious self. Mm. The door is ready when it has had enough experiences through the thought, when it sees that what it actually wants is in itself, not in possessions, when it sees that it has desire, when it sees that it has desire cannot judge, when it desires the thinker to do the judging, when it wants to let go. Let's read that again. Start up here. The door is ready when The door is ready when it has had enough experiences through the thought. And when it sees that what it actually wants is in itself, not in possessions. Oh, mm, that's when you're ready. Everything we need is within us. Mm. Everything we need. So we got to make sure our thoughts line up with that, knowing that everything we need is within us. Um, the door is ready when it has had enough experiences through the thought, when it sees that what it actually wants is in itself. So we're talking about, so basically some thoughts that we have, it's because we don't know that our the power and whatever we're seeking is we can get it from within us, not in possession. When it sees that it has desire, it as desire cannot judge. When it desires the thinker to do the judging. So the thinker is the Holy Spirit. And when it wants to let go. Mm. So when this is when the door is ready. The knower as knowledge and the thinker as justice are, are at all times ready for the balancing. Oh, wow. So the knower, they're waiting on the physical, the door, to make up their mind. Oh, this body, this creation, we have to know ourselves. So this body has to make up its mind and ready to be changed. Because our thoughts, it seems that the author is saying our thoughts is is made from the fact that we don't know who we are. They're made of fear. We want possession. We want desires. It's so physical. Our thoughts are so physical. That's why um, in the way to balance these thoughts. That's why how to balance these thoughts is to learn from them. So in learning from these thoughts, you're giving up authority to the divine aspect of us. That's what this author is saying. Then you're giving up authority to the knower as the knowledge, the knower as the knowledge, the thinker as justice are all times ready for the balancing. The other two aspects of ourselves, the spirit and the all divine self. So we're giving up authority to them. That's basically what it's saying. We learn our lessons when it sees that what it actually wants is in itself, not in possession. When it sees that it has desires, as desire cannot judge, and when it desires the thinker to do the judging, not us. We can't do the judging. And when it wants to let go. So when the body wants to let go, hmm, that's our balance in our thought. The knower as the knowledge and the thinker as justice are at all times ready for the balancing. So those two aspects of us always ready for balancing. So we have to, it's the self. We have to come to, that's how we learn. That's how we learn from our thoughts. That's how we learn from the situations that's happening in our lives. We learn that Whatever we're looking for, it's not in possessions, it's in ourselves. We learn that of ourselves we can't do nothing. We leave judging to the more knowledgeable aspect of us, the all-knowing aspect of us. It seems as if to balance in this thoughts, we have to give up self, ready to let go. That's what it's saying. The door, the flesh, is ready to let go and give authority to our higher self. That's what I'm getting. So when we do that, because the higher self is always ready to balance the thoughts, we just have to give it to them. Um, They wait for the door to be in the condition where it is willing to have the adjustment between itself and nature made. This adjustment is the balancing of the thought and is made by returning to nature, that in the thought which belongs to nature, and by freeing the desire from its attachment to it. Free in the desire. So this adjustment, they, they wait for the door to be in the condition where it is willing to have the adjustment between itself and nature made. This adjustment is the balancing of the thought and is made by returning to nature, that in the thought which belongs to nature, and by freeing the desire from its attachment to it. When the desire is to let go and to be guided by the thinker, the human is unattached to the event and is happy in the feeling of freedom. This is everything I just said. Let go and let the divine aspect of us do the thinking for us, do the judging for us. Go within, go within us to know in this body, in this flesh, we can't do nothing. The aspect of us that is connected to our creator, go inside. He is satisfied with the exteriorization, even if it be the loss of everything or the hardest fate. Though the human is not necessarily conscious of the balancing, he is conscious of what his attitudes toward the exteriorization means to him. So it's his attitude. So when something happens in our life, you can tell who is dependent on our creator and who is not. It's the attitude towards the situation that helps balance it. Even though you can't see when the thought is balanced, it's the attitude towards it. You know what? I'm giving it to God. You know what? I can't do it. Father, I'm leaving it at your feet, even if it costs them everything. And we don't even know what that does. According to this writer, it it it, it, it's confined from that divine place. It sends blessings down to us. He says we haven't given everything over. We haven't learned our lesson. That's why we're not getting any blessings. This is good. Though the human is not necessarily conscious of the balancing, he is conscious of what his attitude towards his exterioration means to him. This is in every case a step towards thinking without creating thoughts. I thought thinking was creating thoughts. Wow. So that's where we're going to be thinking without creating thoughts. Destiny that is without attachment to objects of nature. Hmm. The knower disapproves of every thought which is created because this attaches the desires of the doer to the results of the thought. Oh, oh the knower, that all divine aspect of us, disapprove of every thought we create because this attaches the desires of the doer to the results of the thought. Mm. Though the door of though the doer in the body is not conscious of what goes on in the trance self, one does the acts which are the balancing when he performs his duties gladly without attachment to their results. So our thoughts shouldn't be um, attached to results. Oh. Few persons balance their thoughts because most people are not willing to perform their duties and they refuse to understand that the door in the body must be willing to be guided by the thinker and not sensation. Mm, not sensation. Sensation is your emotion. We have to be guided by the spirit, not by our emotions. Yet they are generating new thoughts without balancing many, and they go through life like comets with enormous tails of unbalanced thoughts following them. Oh my gosh. Our thoughts are powerful comets, comets. Oh, let me read this again so we can be mindful of our thoughts. Few persons balance their thoughts because most people are not willing to perform their duties and they refuse to understand that the door in the body must be willing to be guided by the thinker. Mm? The door in the body must be guided by the thinker. So everything gotta be lined up. Mm. These thoughts has to be balanced. It says the door and the thinker are always ready to balance your thoughts, always. But you have to give it to them. You have to realize that you're just body, that everything you need to do anything it's within you. You have to give up self. That's what the scripture is based on. That's what Christ came and said of ourselves. We can't do nothing. Ask the Holy Spirit for guidance. We can't be guided by our emotions. Mhm. This said, yet they are generating new thoughts without balance in many, and they go through life like comets with enormous tails of unbalanced thoughts following them. In the course of making the adjustment of a thought, a man has to pay his own debts, and he receive compensation for what is due him. A thought cannot be balanced without payment having been made or received and the account settled in connection with that particular thought. The payment may be made in pain, sorrow, terror, or despair, for payment is always made in psychic coin, but the psychic condition results from physical conditions. Likewise, payment is received always in psychic coin as pleasure, well being, and serenity. So your payment is your emotions. Your payment is your emotions. Mm. So when you make these thoughts, it affects your emotions. Payment alone is not enough. A man must pay whether he wills to or not. He will continue to pay over and over again until he learns why the payment must be made. This does not mean that he must know the one whom he wronged and where and when he became a debtor, but that he must learn how not to injure others and how not to allow others to injure him, how to be considerate of the rights and feelings of others without becoming their prey. Payment and learning alone are not enough. There must be a noetic enlightenment accomplished by the results of what he has learned from his experience. So payment and learning is not enough. So it has to be the three aspects of you in learning from this exteriorization of thought. So payment and learning is not enough. There must be a noetic enlightenment accomplished by the results. So remember, noetic is the all-knowing self. This is usually shown by his attitude of mind towards his duties. Duties performed with willingness and understanding effect a balance of the thought of which they are exteriorization. So there have to be an enlightenment of the thought, payment, learning, and enlightenment. So the thinker, the all-knowing self, your attitude change. Seems like there has to be a change that takes place. Willingness and understanding effect a balance of the thought of which they are an exteriorization. A thought must be balanced by the one who issued it according to the responsibility which was his at the time he generated or entertained it. His responsibility is his appreciation of right and wrong, his standard of right. He is informed by this responsibility, not by reason, not by direct warning from his conscience, given through the rightness of his thinker. This warning stamps the thought for life through death and throughout the existence of the thought. The thought will continue until that stamp is matched. The stamp is the balancing factor that compels cyclic exteriorization of the thought until the thought is balanced by the agreement of the physical, the psychic, and the mental and noetic results. Mm. So he is informed of this responsibility not by reason, but by direct warning from his conscience, given through the rightness of the thinker. This warning, you've been warned. When that thing comes, your conscience, this is saying our conscious is that divine aspect, that all knowing aspect of us, warn you about that thought. And because you get a warning, he said this thought is stamped. And this warning stamps the thought for life through death and throughout the existence of the thought. The thought will continue until the stamp is matched. How do you match the stamp? The stamp is the balancing factor. that compels cyclic exteriorization of the thought until the thought is balanced by the agreement of the physical. Remember, the physical you learn from the thought, the physical, the psychic, the mental, and the noetic results. Remember, we just went over the noetic results, the all knowing aspect of us means there's a change that takes place. So, this is a difference when the conscience warn you and you still go ahead, you stamp it. And in order for this thought to be balanced, that stamp thought, all four aspects have to come together to balance the thought. One's responsibility is his knowledge of the result of all that his door has learned from all its experiences through all its life. This knowledge is abstract, but a concrete expression of this abstraction is found in the duty which is at any given time. That duty is a mirror of his responsibility. This is a lot. One's responsibility is knowledge as the result of all that is or has learned from all its experiences through all its lives. Again, it's saying that the door um, has more than one lives, many lives, trying to learn this lesson. This knowledge is abstract, but a concrete expression of this abstraction is found in the duty which is at any given time. That duty is a mirror of responsibility. A thought, once issues, moves in a cycle. It is it is from the light world and its course is towards exteriorization. It is exteriorized on the physical plane as an act, an object, or an event that produces results which are interiorized as psychic, mental, and noetic results in the triune self. If no balance of the thought is made, desire starts. If no balance of the thought is made, desire starts the action of the thinking, and desire on a new cycle of the same thought. Oh, really? If no balance of the thought is made, desire starts the action of the thinking, and desire on a new cycle of the same thought. Frequently, the old thought, which has not been balanced, returns. It is not again conceived, but is entertained in the heart, reinforced through the brain, and reissued. And then it seems to be a new thought. That is one reason why one's thoughts run along certain lines and are related to each other. The aim always brings the thought back to where it started. And when the aim may be slightly changed as the thought is sent on its new cycle. A thought once issues as a tendency to cause continued similar thinking to reinforce it. Mm. If a thought, when its results are interiorized in the psychic, mental, and noetic atmospheres of the human be not balanced, it has, while it is going through its cycle, decided effects upon the human. Mm, mm. That's why we have so much different feelings. You see, if a thought when its results are interiorized in the psychic, mental, and noetic atmospheres of human being not balanced, it has balance it has while it is going through the cycle, the side effects upon the human. The results on the human are feelings of joy or sorrow and desire for continuance or cessation of the results and further shortening, dulling, or control of the desire. The human senses the desire as being right or wrong. If the desire wants to be right, rightness strengthens it. If desire insists on the wrong, rightness gives away. Uh, Yet the thinking, if desire insists on the wrong, rightness gives away. Yet the thinking may be active and effective. That is very often so when the personality is by the cycles of a thought built up on a morally wrong basis of as a cunning selfishness. Mm, or crookedness. In such cases, the human regards everything as right that he desires and everything that stands in his way as wrong. We have to be careful what we think is right and what we think is wrong. The cycle of a thought has a certain path. At one point in its path, the thought is exteriorized. Here, the cycle is dealt with only insofar as it produces the exteriorization in orderly succession. One part of the one part of the path is towards exteriorization, the other part of the path is interior and subjective and comes after the part that appears as the exteriorization. So exteriorization means affecting us physically. Of course, when a thought issues on the light plane of the light world, which is formless, the thought is formless, and its movements are not cyclic in the same sense in which they are when the thought has form and cycles in the physical world. For simplicity, the term cycle is applied also to the prior stages. When the larger course of the thought from issuance to exteriorizations are many smaller cycles, so that in one cycle from the mental atmosphere in the life world by way of the physical plane of the physical world and back to the mental atmosphere in the life world, there may be many lesser cycles. These are produced by desires and thinking towards the exteriorization of the thought. The act, object, or event may be followed by other cycles within the greater cycles of the thought. The smaller cycles producing feelings, sensations, and emotions. Wow. These may be followed by innumerable cycles of mental process. A thought cycles downward by mental activities to find a way towards exteriorization. A thought cycles downward by mental activities to find a way towards exteriorization. As it takes on a definite design, plan, and form by which it will be exteriorized, is a it approaches and finally appears on the physical plane. After this exteriorization of a part of the thought, it goes on affecting the door subjectively, first by feeling, sensation, emotion, and sentiment all flowing as results from the exteriorization. This is a cycle of experiences. So I'm gonna stop here. I'm gonna continue. Maybe I have to make a third, but I'm gonna stop here for tonight. Again, this is Deep Ministries, and we're just taking a deeper look at the law of thought. The law of thought. And if you like this, please comment and share this video if you. I would love to hear others because it seems as if this thought is more powerful than our words, and now we're getting an aspect of it that it has to be balanced. Has to be balanced. We have to get to that place where we don't have, we're not creating thoughts, we're just thinking. We're just thinking, we're not creating thoughts, we're just thinking. Okay, I sure hope you enjoy this video. Again, this is Deep Ministries. If you like what I share here, please share with others. God bless.